Hey, what's up, guys? Another edition of the Zero Hour here. Tim Lloyd, joined by my man Jeff Hobbs, and another abbreviated episode here for you guys today. As we are in the aftermath of the fair fight event that went down at the Nashville Fair this past Saturday. We're going to recap that here today. Jeff, that was it was a good time. We had a laid back, more of a no frills kind of show for a lot of our entry level talent. Got to show the fair crowd kind of what we do, and came out of the weekend with some good scraps and a lot of close fights, had a lot of decisions.
Yeah, it was a good time. Definitely kind of what we needed. A little laid back show. It was definitely different. It was interesting. Walking out the front door. Usually, you walk out the front door of a venue and go to your car. Not a big deal. Walk out of the front door of the venue to go get something, and you smacked right in the face with funnel cakes, Italian ice. Uh, my pocketbook and diet didn't
Took a
fare
hit.
very well. But it was just a cool atmosphere to when you're in the building, just kind of forgetting where you're at, and then you open the door and there's a Ferris
Mhm.
wheel in front of you. It's kind of so it was cool. It was really neat. It logistically had its challenges with just getting in and out, for people and parking and things like that. But all in all, man, it was a fun time.
Before we get going into this recap, guys, make sure you follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well at the Aries Fight Series on Facebook. That's our new page. Make sure you also give us a like here on this video, subscribe, hit that subscription, and you'll get a notification every time we post new content. We've got all the rest of the AMP fights going up on the YouTube channel here this week. Lots of good action there. And then the fair fight videos will be coming up this week as well. So lots of new content for you on the channel. So make sure you give us a subscribe, and you'll get notified when we put it up. Lots of events coming up real quick, on the road to a doubleheader here in October. Up next is Aries 12, October the 7th, from the world famous Cotton Eye Joe. And that will be followed up by Chattanooga Fight Night, our turn to host the co-promotion between us and our pals at NFC and Conflict. That'll be at Camp Jordan Arena in Chattanooga. You can get tickets for both events at fightertix.com. Card for October 7th is pretty much done, and October 29th coming along quickly, and it's looking really good. A lot of title fights on that. We're excited to release those for you guys. Before we get into the recap, another piece of news, Jeff, we have officially re-signed with Spectation Sports. That means we'll be with Spectation through the end of 2023 at the very minimum. What's this mean for our fans and viewers out there, Jeff? What this new deal? How does it affect them?
Well, first and foremost, how it affects them is you can continue to see us on Spectation Sports, and what's important for that is for those of you that did step out there and get your year long subscriptions to Spectation Sports. Maybe you got one, recently or throughout our last year, and we're hoping that we would stick around so that way you got your money's worth. We're going to stay there, so your year long subscriptions are still money in the bank for you right now. But on top of that, the biggest thing is Spectation Sports has they've been happy with our relationship over the last year, and they have now picked up all our amateur events. So we love Weston Wilson over at Combat Cast. Can't say enough good things about him and the business that he does, and for a lot of the promotions. But it was a better fit for us right now to have our content in one location for our fans and friends and family of fighters to go and see us. So that's really the biggest part of this whole deal, Tim, is now we are a one-stop shop on Spectation Sports. So no matter whether it's amateur or professional, pro-am, one place to find Aries Fight Series, and that's Spectation Sports.
That's right. So if you haven't got your subscription, or if you're thinking about doing it, maybe you were kind of on the fence because you were back and forth with pro shows here, amateur shows there, all shows now on Spectation Sports. So make sure you tune in. Lots of good stuff coming up. Also want to give a quick shout out to our presenting sponsor here on the podcast, Smoky Mountain CBD. Make sure you check them out at SmokyMountainCBD.com. They are the premium East Tennessee hemp company. They got your Delta 9, they got your Delta 8, they got your CBD, they got in gummy form, vape form. about however you want to ingest it. And it's great stuff. Great for cutting down the anxiety. Great for a nice recovery at the end of the day to help you sleep. All that good stuff. Check them out. They're so good to us, hooking up our VIPs with swag bags every show. And we can't thank them enough at Smoky Mountain CBD. Let's get into it. Fair fight. We had an opening contest, of course. We had the youth. First off, props to everybody on this show for like being on time and making it to weigh-ins on time and on weight. We didn't have anybody that had to go cut. Nobody we had to wait afterward on to weigh. Nobody we had to chase down on fight day to make sure they were on time for rules. So props to everybody there for a bunch of mainly entry level talent. Everybody handled themselves as professionals. Opened up the card. Xavier Cox out of Phoenix MMA there in Hermitage gets the win by unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board on all the cards against Lawrenceburg Combat Club's Andrea Bartain. So Cox now 1-1. Partain goes to 0-1. Both these kids look good, Jeff. I thought we'd seen Cox fight on 11 in card about a year or so ago, but he's improved a whole lot. He was super sharp, very technical. Partain very tough, but Cox really shined here. Your take?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised in the the big upswing in Cox from the last time we saw him. Looked so much more polished this time. Just very controlled in his attack, confident. So definitely a lot of improvement for Cox. Partain though was definitely no slouch. The kid did not lack confidence. In the build up to a fair fight, I mean, constantly commenting on posts and pictures and just letting us know about to put on a show for you guys. So I loved his energy and the energy that he brought. And the Lawrenceburg, the combat club. I mean, again, great fans there to support, their fighters, win or lose. Very cool and classy fan base. So it was a good fight. Definitely, these guys fit right. We're doing so many juniors, stuff nowadays. These guys fit right in to everything we're doing. No matter who came out with the W on this, both guys could definitely stay busy with us.
Most definitely. Also got to see the first time reffing for DJ Miller in that fight. He did very well, actually. You would not have guessed he was a first timer. So hope we get to see DJ reffing some more Muay Thai bouts. Up next, Richie Nichols out of Team Manning got the win over Guardian Murfreesboro's Desmond Baker. Round 3 TKO. This fight, kind of a tale of two fights. It was 30 seconds in. It was a rib injury, apparently, for Baker that he had suffered I think in the first round, if not the first round, the second round. You could tell in the second round just kind of the way he's reacting to a lot of the punches that like something seemed off. Finally, it was a little bit too much for him in the third round. Nichols improves to 1-0. Baker goes to 0-1. Nichols looked good though, man. The first round, Baker looked really good. I had Baker clocking that first round, but then second round, Nichols started to really come on. The injury surely had maybe a little something to do with it. Nichols very tall and long, rangy. I can think of some good fights for him.
Yeah, Baker definitely looked good in the first round. I wasn't sure at first. It appeared like maybe he was gassing. Of course, hindsight and looking back, it was not gassing. It was the shots to the body that were just taking their toll on him. And the rib injury definitely was attributed to some of those clinches in the knees and body shots. So don't get it twisted. This wasn't necessarily an injury. When the injury was caused by damage, from Richie Nichols. Like you said, though, Richie, man, what a tall drink of water that young man is. Very very large, very tall guy. My son was there with me, and he was just like, "What team does he play for?" And I was like, "No, he's not. He doesn't play for a team. He just wanted to know what football team, what basketball team. Who was this guy?" It was a good fight. It was a good close fight. Desmond Baker was kind of the local, if you will, coming from Guardian, and they had a lot of good things to say about him, and as well they should, because he looked really good until the fight was over. So hopefully he bounces back quick, and maybe it was more hurt instead of injured, hopefully, so that he's not out too long. And then Richie Nichols could stylistically and stature wise be a problem for some guys. So it would be interesting. There's a couple of matches in my head I'm thinking that could be real interesting just based on size alone.
I agree. And he already reached out to me. He said he took no damage. Would love to jump on one of these October cards if something opens up. So we'll see. We see Richie again soon. Interesting note, Team Manad typically noted for their grappling. They've sent teams out to the Hyder Cup. Dustin Bailey, of course, out of there. These good grapplers. When Richie moves on to MMA, he certainly will be a player in that division, I think. All right. Up next, we had bantamweight Muay Thai. It was Bowden out of Upper Cumberland MMA, and Cookeville getting a split decision win over Salil, call him AJ, I guess, Richardson out of Team Irvin Jones. 29-28 two times for Bowden, 28-29 the other way. Den goes to 2-0, Richardson goes to 1-1. This is a close fight. I was sitting there next to you, and we were kind of conversating over something else while we were watching it. But I was like, man, I don't know who's winning this fight. It's super close because they both would have really nice flurries where they land multiple combinations on each other, just very back and forth. I didn't have a problem with this going either way, but both guys look good. And I guess we won't see Mr. Bowden again, though. They said he's moving back to Vietnam here very, very soon. So it'll be, maybe keeping on AJ Richardson moving forward anyway.
Yeah, it was a really close fight. One of two split decisions on the night, I believe. And I'm like you, I wouldn't have been upset either way had it gone either way. But man, I'm sure he's moving back to Vietnam for good reason. I hate to see him go. I do remember now that you say that. You said this was kind of his last hurrah before he left, and he really wanted to get it in. And that's why it was important to get him matched up, because this may be his last opportunity to compete before he leaves. So, definitely well wishes, good safe travels to Bowden, and hope everything works out for him. He was really great to work with. Salil Richardson from Team Irv. It was really kind of the first time have they competed under that name.
They competed on the Lebanon show with
Lebanon.
Travis Lawrence, who hopefully we'll get Travis Lawrence on one of our cards coming up soon. It sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Salil, AJ, if you will, I mean, he seems like a really strong-minded kid. I don't think this is going to set him back one bit. He looked good. Again, we're just talking about one referee that saw one round different than the other. So, so hopefully we see him back again. Yeah, it was a really good fight.
Probably my favorite fight of the night next. Reema Awad out of Ben Kiker's United Karate Studio got we had split decision again, back-to-back split decisions here. She gets the split decision over Phoenix MMA's Anne Marie Sharp, 29-28 across the board, 2 for Awad, 1 for Sharp. Awad gets to 1-0 here. Sharp goes to 0-1. But man, this fight was nonstop. I mean, these girls did not stop throwing. Now they're only 115 pounds, so we never saw anybody get dropped or really noticeably hurt, but I mean they never stopped throwing. And anybody coming out of that United Karate Studios, we've seen Awad's teammate Hannah Tucker fight very similar style. Man, just they don't let off the gas. Just a really good fun fight. Anne Marie Sharp had a really nice fan contingency there. They were very vocal, and she was a sweetheart to work with as well. Both these ladies were awesome.
Yeah, man, it was just nonstop. Pow, 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 pow. It reminded me of Hannah. What's her name?
Hannah Tucker, yeah.
Hannah Tucker, yeah. Same, just spark plug, million punches a minute, and absolutely no fatigue either, no exhaustion. Bell rings, come back, right back at it again. This was definitely a good fight. Like you said, I was really. Besides being surprised by both of their skill set and just how good both of them looked, I really was surprised by the amount of fans that Anne Marie Sharp had there. She had a
kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, a good contingency of friends and families there to support her, and they didn't stop supporting her the whole time. And even after the decision was rendered, they still kept supporting her and cheering for her. So, like I said, both young ladies, sweethearts from start to finish, from the time they arrived at weigh-ins to the time they left. It was really cool. Miss Awad was definitely emotionally shook, after the fight, which was really cool to see, because you just saw it all kind of pour out of her. A lot of hard work, and I'm sure just time, blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, and the emotions just rushed out of her after it was over. And it's always good to see Mr. Kiker there, and he was so proud of her as
Hmm.
well.
At that point, we had a brief intermission, came back to the second half of the show. Started it off with an exhibition, a little fun, laid back exhibition here from two Fight Force Fitness gentlemen, including the OG DJ Miller, getting out there and getting some work in with his protege Peyton Potter, and really just a laid back exhibition fight that got to show the fans some nice technique. These guys tried to put a little flair behind it, and they had a good time with it. DJ, it was his birthday weekend, so happy birthday to him. And honestly, I talked to Peyton Potter had not competed before. Like he's just been training, but man, I thought he looked very solid. And I told DJ, I just messaged him today. I'm like, when are we going to get Peyton Potter a debut? Because I think he looks like he's got the goods.
Yeah, it was a good. It was a good opportunity for Fight Force Fitness to kind of just showcase themselves as a gym at the show, um, and that really was the intent of doing this. They came in early, set up a booth, so really appreciated their gung ho attitude about being a part of the event, and yeah, they took the opportunity to get in front of a lot of eyes, a lot of Nashville eyes, and let
Mm-hmm.
people know who they are and what they're about and where they're from. And this was, aside from a booth and merchandise and stuff like that, this was the best way to advertise. Man, was to get in there and show off your skill set and show off what your gym can do. So, um, like I said, there was it was your typical exhibition, and then every once in a while, you'd see a shot thrown, and you were like, oh, hey, like that's no, okay. A little dominance was every once in a while tried to be thrown out there, and so um, Potter would throw a couple little question mark kicks, and DJ would kind of tee off one back, and it's like, okay, the competitiveness tried to peek its head out in the middle of exhibition, but it was good seeing DJ just out there again. He's been in the game for such a long time, and he enjoyed just getting out there and working in front of a crowd. And like I said, going back, his refereeing, Muay Thai referees, a lot of the referees we use in the area are dead up MMA referees and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and admittingly they'll tell you, like these are difficult for me sometimes to referee. And so if it's something that he can, get in there really routinely, and we could find ourselves a really good Muay Thai ref in the area, that would benefit us plus anybody else that would use them.
Moving on to MMA action here. This one was a lightweight. It was Diego Martinez from Wildside up in Clarksville getting the win in the first round. Rear naked choke submission over Lawrenceburg Combat Club's Logan Meadows. Don't call me Meters. Martinez moves to 2-1. Meadows goes to 1-2. And this was a fun one while it lasted. I thought, Diego showed really good wrestling. Logan had a few opportunities where he was able to he showed a good get up game a few times until eventually he just kind of got surpassed on the ground there in the scrambles by Diego. Diego gets a Performance of the Night award as well. Your take on this one? Diego typically be at 145. He did this one at 155. But do you see Diego being, a player in that 145 division right now? There's some pretty good players.
Yeah, yeah. He had just competed a couple weeks before our show, and so that was the reason for going up in weight. Was just didn't want to kind of back to back do that weight cut. The first time I saw Diego compete, I really didn't, I didn't see that, necessarily that game plan from him. So when he came out, as soon as that bell rang, and he shot that single leg, man, it was like he dipped it really nice. Um, uh, it was evident what the game plan was for Saturday night, and that was to get this thing to the ground. So a little different skill set and game plan than what I'd seen from him before. So I was, pleasantly surprised to see that aspect of his game. So I do definitely think he's got something there that um, if he wants to come back, I definitely would agree with you that he could be a player in that division. And he, again, super easy to work with. Teammates with Bryce Warner, who's another one that's just super easy and to work with. Diego is, if you don't see him smiling, it seems like something would be wrong because he smiled all weekend long. So, the guy's always in a good mood, and was really awesome to work with. Uh, Logan, tough loss. Excuse me, tough loss for him, but don't count Logan out. He'll definitely be back, and he's a tough customer. We've seen him in there with some really tough fights so far in his young career, and he still just keeps like the Energizer Bunny coming back and saying, "Give me more, give me more."
Mhm.
So I'm sure we'll see him back quick.
Feature bout of the evening. This was one that we were looking forward to. This is the one that we had a little bit of, I don't know if to call it heat or not, but like, there seemed to be a little like they were ready to fight each other.
There was
Uh, it,
something there.
yeah,
There
it
was
was
something there.
Taryn Simmons of Nashville MMA makes her debut in this Muay Thai contest as she gets a unanimous decision win over Ashley Brim out of Outlook MMA, 30-27 two times, 29-28 one time. Taryn gets to 1-0 in this one. Brim drops to 2-2. Performance award winner here. And I should say, like, even though like we like kind of heat of the moment or whatever with giving these things out. I want to say that like Awad and Sharp, they probably should deserve some props for like some like that. In my opinion, probably should have got some sort of performance as well. But back to where we were here. These girls here, they Simmons and Brim, they really threw down on this one. The crowd was amped up, and even though it was unanimous decision, it was still one of those where I still didn't necessarily know which way it was going to go until we saw the scorecards.
Yeah, again, people get confused when they hear unanimous decision. They think, maybe disrespected, like, oh, you thought it was a landslide. No, a round can still be super close, and it just gets a lean one way with the judge, and they can all three be like that. Doesn't mean that it's not a close fight just because it's a unanimous decision. And this was a perfect example of that. They were close rounds. Um, Brim walked forward, pretty much the entire fight. She was in it. The difference, I think, was that, even when she was having to walk backwards, Taryn Simmons is still popping a jab. She used the teep kick really well in this fight to keep distance. She's got long arms. She's very, I don't want to say big girl in a disrespectful way. She's a very long girl. She's got long legs, long arms, and she was able to use both of those weapons. That even with Brim coming forward, she's able to keep her distance and score points. From that distance, Brim, as typical. When she did get in, she would have a good hard shot. So, from a judge's standpoint, you're having to judge volume against I don't want to call it damage because I don't think Taryn was ever anything but just hard shots with the
Mm,
with the thud with the pat
right. When
and
Ashley Woodland, they were
yeah,
good
they were
shots.
they were
Yeah.
noticeably
Yeah.
they hit good, they were loud, and you noticed it. But Taryn just stayed busy and just used her weapons perfectly, and like you said, it was definitely our biggest pop of the night for both sides during the introductions. Brim's you know uh, crowd was I think the louder of the two, but then during the fight it switched to where Taryn's crowd then
Hmm.
took over. So it was a lot of good back and forth. I think this fight definitely delivered what we thought it would. Um, and I think on the card, it was probably the most anticipated fight of the night from a lot because those are two, Nashville MMA is a very large gym, so they had a large contingency of, students there, history of coaches that have worked at both places. You had corners cornering against former coaches. So, I mean, there was a lot of intricacies of this fight that just made it really an anticipated fight. We know Josh Maynard obviously sold a lot of tickets too, but I think as a whole, Josh Maynard was only one side. He was the
Hmm.
only side of his fight that had a fan base. Both of these two were battling back and forth, and that's what made it probably our bigger fight of the night.
I a shout out to Nathan Lindsay flew in from Colorado for this one to jump in the corner with Ashley Brim. Good to see him. Uh,
Nate in Colorado. Hmm.
yeah, that seems that seems like a good fit. Let's see. Co-main event here. Bantamweight action. Hunter Anderson of Warrior, the newly minted Warrior MMA, out of Gallatin, Tennessee, moves to 2-1 as he gets a disqualification win over Wildside's Bryce Warner in the first round. due to a head kick to a downed opponent. Anderson goes to 2-1. Bryce goes to 2-2. Man, this one was really good early. This was shaping up to be a fight of the night type situation. I felt like Bryce wasn't able right off the rip to kind of like throw around Hunter Anderson like he's been able to throw around some of the flyweights. And we talked about this going into the fight where this is a 135 fight with a guy coming up from 25 and a guy coming down from 135. And oddly enough, the guy Hunter Anderson actually was still like a pound less at weigh-ins than Bryce Warner. But the size of Anderson proved to be a little bit of a hurdle early. But Bryce was starting to come on as the round progressed and was starting to get those takedowns. And just a bit of a brain fart there, through the kick as Hunter was getting up. This one was very close. Even that instance was very close enough to where we broke out the magic of technology and we rewatched this one to make sure that the call was correct. What's your take on this one? For one, the fight, but for two, do you think that it was? I think probably by the rule, it was probably handled properly, but it seemed like Hunter was willing to continue to fight at that point, but I guess they'd been stopped for so long reviewing what happened that they just called it a DQ. Nonetheless, Anderson has said that he would be happy to give Bryce a rematch.
Couple of thoughts on it. One, quickly about the fight itself. You're right. I think at first Bryce was having some difficulty just trying to figure out the longer body, the bigger body, and we've talked about it before. When you're fighting a taller guy, just things aren't there that are normally there. When you're like, okay, well, when I normally fight and I can reach this far and I can do this, and his hips are here and his head's here, but now his head's here and not, so there was just a little adjustment there. But like you said, Bryce was getting his groove at that point, and I think strength wise. There were a couple moments where Bryce just kind of just shrugged him off and pushed him across the cage a couple of times. So I don't think there was necessarily a strength difference there. Bryce was, definitely aggressive, and I think feeling his flow. Finally did get it to the ground and had a couple of good moments of ground and pound there, but backed off and was letting Hunter up. And so as much as we know Bryce does like to wrestle and has a good wrestling background, he was definitely okay with letting Hunter up a couple times and turning it back into a stand-up fight. And I don't know why I'm focusing on the picture of you and Jamie Lee in the background. I feel like it's tilted. It's not, I don't know if it's straight or not.
Maybe if I do this, it's like
yeah. But yeah, so, you could see Hunter, definitely getting up, and I think he was on his way up. He still just had that one hand posted on the ground as he was trying to get up. And like I said, just a brain fart, the aggression of, Bryce wants that highlight. He does. And he pulled the trigger just a little too early. And like you said, Hunter Anderson popped right up. There was obviously, it wasn't a fight ending type of hit or injury. Bryce or Hunter was able to just jump right back up and tell the referees okay. But that gets me to the next point was, and we've had the situation before with fights being stopped and being let back go again. If you remember at Cotton Eye Joe, and how things,
and that was much more egregious.
Sure,
yeah.
But I guess my point is more so. The fight's going one way, and then it was allowed to let back go, which it should not have been, and the whole fight flip flopped.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I feel the wrong person won that.
Right.
Things changed, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't have that situation again. But referee Luke Wilson, who does an awesome job, he did this. Mm-hmm. As soon as it happened, it was waved off. And so at that moment, the fight is over. Had he said timeout first, it's not waved off. Maybe we could have assessed it, but he waved it off. So for all intent and purposes, the fight is over at the moment that the referee waves it off. Just like if we think back at Cotton Eye Joe where we went wrong, the referee waved it off. It should have been over, but then he allowed it to start back up. So as much as Hunter Anderson was willing to get back in there, referee Wilson did the right thing and stuck to his guns and said, "No, I waved it off. It's over." Um, I do like the fact, though, that we did check out instant replay, but at that point, I think we were just checking it out for the benefit of Bryce Warner's corner, who wanted to make just because at the end of the day, we're going to have somebody argue. Somebody's going to be mad. And so
Mm.
we were able to use instant replay to kind of prove to him that it was indeed. And he quickly, as soon as he saw the replay, he goes, yep, yep, his hand was down. No questions asked. And it was end of story for him because he was able to, see with his own eyes because it was hard to
Mm.
see in real time. It was hard to see. Um, but luckily this is amateur. This is Gamma. This isn't the state. We're not bound by whether a state has instant replay rules or not. And I really enjoyed the fact that we were able to stop for a second and go
Get it
back
right.
and get it right and take a look at it, or at least confirm that we were right.
Right, right, right.
Um, so both these guys are ready to go. Again, I've talked to Bryce today. I know you've got some things out there. I mean, the guy's just like, let me. Yeah, he texted me a minute ago. He's like, let me just clear this with my coaches. But he just sent back, yeah. And I was like, well, which one? And he was like, both. I don't care, either or both. It was like 100. He said his text back was 110%. I'm ready to go. Let me
Yeah.
just find out, which one. So we're just kind of waiting. I don't think he's going to wait for Hunter Anderson to come. He wants to fight like right now if everybody's okay with it. So, but I do want to revisit this match. I do want to see it again. And I think Bryce wants to see it again. And I think Hunter wants to do it again
Mhm.
just to, if he were to win the second time, put his stamp on it that, the right person did win, regardless of what happened. So let's not forget about this one, Tim, and let's make sure that you keep this one in your back pocket as a possible rematch that we can hopefully get back on quick.
Most definitely. Moving on, final fight of the night, main event. Josh Maynard out of Pedigo Submissions there in Nashville, Tennessee. Franklin, I think, technically, makes his debut, gets the win over Noah Park out of SBG Buford. Round one TKO, ground and pound. Now he is 1-0. Park's 0-1. Uh, Maynard used his. I don't know if Maynard threw any punches standing. He immediately got the takedown, worked him out, and laid down some big ground and pound, and that was it. So props to Josh for getting that win. I know he was excited to get his first MMA fight in there. I'm curious to see if we'll get to see him do MMA anymore. It's kind of presented as like a bucket list kind of deal. So I'm not sure if he made back to the grappling and tag team grappling ranks. And I wanted to give a shout out to Noah Park for kind of adjusting on the fly. He was originally going to fight someone else that probably would have been a better match for him, but he adjusted with us on the fly when we had the issue with Maynard's original opponent. So props to Noah. Get back in the gym, my man. We'll when you're ready to rock and roll again, we'll give you something that you can get a little bit more time to prepare for. Wrap us up on this one, Jeff. Final fight, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, props to both these guys because both of them had opponent issues at the last minute that
Mm.
they both came together and just decided, hey, you don't have an opponent, I don't have an opponent. Let's make this fight still happen. So, and I know Noah traveled, a pretty good distance to be there. So, again, how many times do we go through uh, guys that no show, back out, give you an excuses, and he had no excuses all weekend. He was just, I'm here. Let's make it happen. So, huge props to him. I think this was a bucket list item, but Josh Maynard definitely at the end of it. When I approached him about it just being a one and done bucket, he had that look in his eye, and he made the comment. He's like, well, kind of like a Taylor Hood deal where it was like at that time, well, the wife said I could do one,
All right.
just one. And so he's like, but I'm going to ask her if she'll let me do it. So I think he's still got that unfulfilled feeling inside. And the second one, I think, will be easier as far as emotionally, internally. The first one, he said, it was a bucket of nerves, going into here. And the next one, he wants to see what it feels like, your sophomore outing where that newness is gone and you're a little more relaxed the second time. And I don't know, man. I almost feel like part of it is not even just winning a fight; it's being in a fight, if that makes sense. And I think he wants to
Mm.
be in a fight. A little bit of adversity, somebody hit me back, kind of thing. And I think that's the feeling some of these guys that do it as a quote unquote bucket list thing is not necessarily did I get in A, and then B, did I win? It's just like, was I in a fight? What did I learn about myself? And I think that's what's missing. And I think that's what's got Josh going to ask permission for one more. But again, he had a great crowd. Everybody came out to see Josh Maynard, and for good reason. He's a good dude, and a lot of people like Josh. A lot of people respect Josh, and I think he's one of those guys that's good to everybody else. So everybody is good to him and supports him. So it was good to cap off the night with another, athlete competitor getting to check off that old bucket list and do something that they'd never done before. And hopefully he'll let us know pretty soon whether or not he's schmoozed her into round number 2.
That'll do it for the fair fight, folks. That is in the books. We're wrapping it up, closing the book on it, and moving forward to October 7th up next. World famous Cotton Eye Joe, Aries 12. Jeff will get some interviews going here on the site here over the next couple of weeks, getting that ramped up. And then, of course, October 29th, Chattanooga Fight Night, Camp Jordan Arena. Once again, you get your tickets for both events at fighterticksforthenext.com. Again, watch the pay-per-view at expectationsports.com. And I think that's going to do it for us, Jeff. I guess till next time. Appreciate you all joining us for another edition of the 0 Hour. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
See ya.